Hi, mateys. Ahoy, mateys. It's Friday, American TESOL Friday free webinars. We're here every Friday, and I am your hostess, Shelly Sanchez-Carroll. And here is your other host, my co-host, which is Roscoe. And we are going to talk about resources for International Talk Like a Pirate Day, which is coming up very, very soon. You can find us every Friday. We have free webinars. We've been doing this for the last over 2 years. We have over 100 presentations. You get all the bookmarks. You get a certificate of attendance from American TESOL, which does have master's courses and other courses for teachers who want to speak English. We cover everything and even the most up-to-date teaching trends. So today we're going to talk about International Pirate Day resources. And one of the reasons why we're doing this, and Roscoe's in his little pirate gear, you can kind of see his little cape. Come on, buddy. Let's show him your little pirate cape there. Oh, there we go. It's because there's so much you can do with International Talk Like a Pirate Day. Not only are there, and I love this picture, by the way, all the pictures that we get, I bookmark them. But there are on Flickr, and the great thing is if you do a search on Flickr, you can find lots and lots of photos for presentations. But if you do go, you can do a search and it'll say Creative Commons, and it'll even let you do commercial ones. And then you just make sure that you put the right proper link and stuff, which I always do at the bottom. So I love this picture. It was actually called Zira's Pirate Birthday Party. And I love the way the kids are on here. But one of the things about teaching about pirates is not only you can learn a lot, but students love pirates. Children that are very, very young love pirates, but as well you can find that adults love pirates as well. When you think about a lot of the movies that are out, that are really famous throughout history, then you'll find there's a lot that have to do with pirates. So in the chat box, let me know of any pirate movies that are famous that you like or that you think that your students would like. And one of the things that you can do if you're teaching about or on International Pirate Day, you can always go on YouTube and you can find a clip and you can show them a clip. But there's also a lot of education resources as well. So while you're putting that in the chat box, we're going to go ahead and discuss some of the really great ways that you can teach with pirates. Now, pirates are something of the past and historically speaking. So there's so many different things. These are a few ideas that I have out here. But when you're talking about the history of pirates, these are some things that you run into that really are wonderful. STEM. So there's a lot inside education right now that wants to talk about teaching science, technology, engineering, and math to students. Well, using pirates or International Speak Like a Pirate Day as the backdrop for that can really help you with STEM. You can teach things such as things and inventions like nautical inventions. Pirates, they had to have a lot of different types of inventions to go exploring. It's really important for students when they think about pirates, they can talk about what it meant to be on the sea. How were you going to survive? What kind of instruments would make it good for navigation? What kind of inventions would you need in case you were going to have a storm? Because one of the things about pirates is that's the way they lived. They lived on the boat. You can also teach exactly what Peggy says. You can teach about pirates as explorers. And one of the reasons why is because this is the way that they lived. And what were they exploring the sea for? What were they searching for? They were searching for pirate treasure. So and gold, exactly. So they needed to have some of the best navigation skills, and they also had to have some of the best navigation exploration tools, like how they had to have a good map. They had to know science in math. They had to understand how to read a map. They had to know about distances, how to chart maps. things like that, or else they wouldn't be able to find the treasure, or what sometimes you know as booty. That's what they would call the treasure sometimes. Another thing is, so you learn about history. You can even go through an exploration and you can look for pirate ships that have crashed in, that they've done real exploration excavation on. You can find sites like Discovery Network, and all of these will be bookmarked, and I'll show you the bookmarks and share them with you along with the slides, so you don't have to worry about that. And the great thing is you can learn about language. Pirates, one of the reasons why it's international is because there are pirates in every culture. And you may think that pirates are something just from history, but they're not. About 2 years ago, there was actually a story that was out on the sea about pirates who kidnapped some citizens. So there are still pirates that exist. Teamwork, and the reason why I put this is, yes, there were a lot of people that have to work to make a ship go, and there's different types of jobs, and if certain people don't do those jobs, then that would mean that that could be death for everyone else. So you can talk about that as well. You can also talk about different types of pirate fashion and how the pirate, it's funny because a lot of the students love to wear pirate clothes, and you can even have it to where your little kids wear it, but you can have an entire discussion on the practicality of that. You can talk about what it meant to be a pirate. So you can start a discussion. You can say, how did someone actually become a pirate? A pirate was actually somebody who didn't want to be a part of society. Sometimes they were outlawed. Why would people join the pirate life? Why would they decide to sell and sell and sell? Well, a lot of the shipmates were, in fact, also like outlaws in a way. Yeah, Seema says that it's ambitious. And a lot of times, and I think what Peggy says in the chat box, she says, I think of them as scary people. It's good to try and research different types of famous pirates out there and figure out how they decided to become a pirate and why they were so famous. And what if all pirates, and that's some of the things that you can have as a pre-discussion that could be part of brainstorming questions that you try to come up with. Were all pirates bad? Were all pirates outlaws? We're all pirates motivated by just trying to find gold and treasure. So these are all kinds of questions that you can have before you explore some of the best and some of the most well-known pirates that are famous out there. Now, the great thing is when you explore different pirates, you can explore different pirates from culture, because traditionally there are different pirates from around the world, and each country actually has different types of pirates that they know of that were famous throughout their history. So pirates end up being something that was a part of history of many different types of countries that were along the sea as well. So one of the easiest activities, and really great for language, is to tell your own pirate story. And one of the great things is after they do the research and the history of the pirates, and they go on a little web tour or web exploration, and I have those bookmarks so you can look at different historical sites that talk about pirates. Then you can go ahead and have them tell their own pirate story. They can talk about the treasure they imagine, what they can even search for treasure that hasn't been discovered yet. And I'm going to share those sites with you, and then they can go and they can create their own story of how they're going to get to that treasure and what the treasure is. Because one of the great things about this treasure is you don't know what it is. You don't know what these treasure is going to be. So when you write your own story, and this is the plot, that they have to find this treasure, and they have to go through different maps, and you can tell them they can incorporate those maps within the story, then one of the things you can do as well is you can add these great tools that have where they can put their story. So I'm going to share some of those sites with you. In the past, we've shared them, but one of the great things is that they have pirate art in them as well. So the students can have these stories and make it really fast. So you don't have to take a whole entire day. Students can actually use these tools. They have some different types of art and graphics that'll go along with that story. So here's one, storyboard.com, and these are all free, by the way. The tools that I share on these webinars are free for teachers, and so you can use them, and your students can access them, and they tend to be, they're friendly sites as well. So here's one called storyjumper.com, and I like this particular one because it actually shows you the map, it shows you different points, and the great thing is that you can actually add the text to this. You can add this backdrop. Your students can choose the backdrop, they can choose the characters, and then they add their own text. It's a lot like Storyboard, which I'll share later. But the other thing is that the students choose from the art collection by artists, and then they create the text, and then they can give a link, and they can share it with their parents, they can share it with their grandparents as well. The only problem with that one is that it's not embeddable. My favorite type of storybook with text and everything, and the great thing about these two, Storyjumper and Storyboard, is that they actually hide the identity of your students. So in other words, your students are going to they're not going to share their voice, they're not going to share their face or anything, they're not going to share personal information. So what it does is it really helps you to have your, if the parents want to make sure that your students are protected in their identities, these are great tools. The easiest way to do this, storyboard.com. So your students don't have to make the art that goes in these different types of tools. Storyboard.com is embeddable. If you do the teacher account, they have a free one. Your students can work in pairs and teams to make the same story. A lot of teachers don't know that, but I've actually done research, and it's a wonderful way to have collaborative stories. And that makes it go by faster as well. Students can choose from different art collections. They do have like maps, and they have world and cultural things as well, so you can make it very much about your own culture. They can make instead a comic strip about their exploration or about life as a pirate. So they can, after they research some very, very famous pirates, they can also make different types of comic strips that talk about what they researched, or the buried treasure, or maybe shipwrecked, and then they can add that to a comic strip. And this is a great way that you can do this with any kind of history. If you want whatever your students read and you want them to translate it, summarize it, and then to put it out, doing a comic is really good. There's a lot of great characters that you can find with make-believe comics. Now, Peggy asked a very good question. That could be another topic you research for pirates. Why do pirates always have a patch over one eye? Living on the sea life was very, very dangerous. So when we talk about living on the sea and things like that, they also have wooden sticks sometimes as legs. You can talk about medical conditions and how they actually did surgeries and how they were able to survive after going through an accident or anything like that. So that you can find all of that as well. Your students can study that, and then they can see, you know, the science between all of that and where it started as well. So those are very good questions. You were asking great questions, Peggy. Another one is GoAnimate.com, and the great thing is you can see here with GoAnimate, it also has a pirate ship. So you can do a discussion of all these things that you're learning, and then you can have them write the story. They can add the voice, but they don't have to add their own voice, because they can add in different types of accents as well. They have Spanish, they have all kinds. So it's very much an international. One of the things, and I'm going to share this resources at the end, is a pirate translator, okay? And when you see that pirate translator, they can translate whatever they translate. Let's say they want to say, hi, Matey, or something, but they want to say, hi, how are you? Well, you can put that in the translator, and they'll translate it into pirate language. And then you can make a GoAnimate.com video. That will be very, very funny. You can add your own voice, or you can just make it as text. Zubair.com is a 3D book. It's a lot like Storyboard, except it's a 3D book. And they also have their own backgrounds that students can choose from as well. And Little Bird's House. So let's say your students do want to add their own drawings. They do want to add their own pirate drawings and pictures and things. They can with littlebirdhouse.com. And Little Bird's House is embeddable. It's a really, really great tool. You can create the story, you can add text, but you can also add voice. So this is one of my go-to tools for all language learners, because Zubair tells it covers everything. It covers speaking, listening, reading, and writing. So it's very, very good language tool. And then they have different types of pirate setup for Friendstrip. So if you go to friendstrip.org, Friendstrip, which is an iOS and Android app, you can already find a pirate theme as the backdrop on this comic, and then the students add the rest of the plot. So I really love Friendstrip, because in this one, it kind of hurries up the process. So when your students are saying, a lot of times teachers want to be able to do all of this within a 45-minute lesson, it's very possible when you use something like Friendstrip. So you have access to mobile devices. Even if you have a mixture, then you can do that with Friendstrip. And then, of course, if you have iOS or Android, and a very exciting news, the easiest way to make a story on Android and iOS devices, even if you have, what you can do is you can go and you can download Book Creator. It allows voice, it allows video. So when you're doing all the research on the internet, let's say you find a YouTube video, then a lot of times if it allows you, if it has the YouTube, you're able to remix and things like that, then you can add that video. Different pictures that you find online, you can actually, if you do a Google search and you do Creative Commons and you're not charging for the book, then you can also you can use those pirate pictures as well. You can add comic strips, you can add their own text, they can add their own voice, they can speak like a pirate, so that would be really great to add in their book. And recently, Book Creator, just about a week ago, announced that they have a free Android app. It wasn't free before, but the Android, they always had a free iOS app, but they also have a free Android app now. So that's something that you can take advantage of. It's a really fantastic app. Okay, so what else can you do? Well, one of the great things you can do as far as science and engineering goes is you can have them build their own pirate ships. They can actually look at different cells. They can work in groups to do this. So you can make it easy by buying Lego kits. There's a lot of Lego kits. And I was doing research on different Lego kits. And now one of the things about Lego is they also come with coding. Lego you actually get the Legos, and after you build the ships, so Legos has where you can build the ships, but Lego has different types of things when you can, yeah, exactly, same as said, you can draw it as well, exactly. But when they draw it, first have them research, like, how are cells designed, what kind of wood would be the best wood in case you go through a big storm, how are you best going to survive? And then you can have a contest, actually. You can look into different materials and you can actually test these out. Sometimes we've built these with toothpicks. You can do, yes, exactly. And that's the thing that Peggy asked, is were pirate ships different from other ships? And yes, in some cases they were, because pirate ships, you had to go for long voyages in the sea. You had to live in them. And also a lot of times the pirate area, but sometimes they weren't, because sometimes the ships were actually taken, were actually stolen ships in some cases. So that's an important point to note. But it's good to research how they were built and things like that. And then your students, if you put them in groups, they can actually test it out. This is something that I would do for some of my science classes, or when I taught. Yes, they were. Were pirate thieves sometimes? Yeah, actually they were quite a bit. So these are things that we can learn, and it's great for engineering. But you can do this with Legos and make it really quick. The great thing is Lego has this new like robotics and coding thing. So what they do for teachers is they actually give you a whole entire handbook. But they also, the Legos, after you build it, what you can do is it has like a USB cord. Let me see if I can find my USB. But anyway, it's a USB cord that you stick in. I'll show you. Okay, so it has like one of these. You can see, and that goes in the computer. And then the students can actually do different types of programming. They even have it as young as 6- and 7-year-olds can use the program, and then it moves for them. They have different Legos that do that now, so they're really good for STEM. But they do have a shipbuilding Lego set as well for kids, so they can learn how to build pirate ships. They can search for their own pirate treasure, okay? So that was one of the ideas I said before. But how are they going to do that? Well, they're going to have, you can see in this picture, I love this picture, they can have all of these different types of tools. And that's one of the things that you can study. You can study pirate fashion and how it's very practical. Why did they have the big hats? Why did they have the patches? Why did they have shields? Did they have, what kind of things are you going to need for a pirate treasure hunt? And these are all important to know. And why are they important to know? Why did you have these long boots? Because they're very practical. If you are traveling and you are in the sea and this is your way of life, your chances for survival depended on your fashion. It depended on what you wore. So you had to have things that were good for water. You had to have things, yes, exactly, Peggy, that's a great idea. You can teach them about geocaching of their treasures. You have to have appropriate weapons as far as knives and things like this. Why? Because you don't know where you're traveling. And if you're traveling in these deserted places or wherever where the treasure is, then you have to be able to cut the brushwood. You have to have knives that are able to cut through all this wood and stuff when you're going through the forest and you're excavating. It's not going to be like a hiking where it's all paved out for you. So you're going to have to go on these adventures, and that's why pirates had a lot of these dressings. Why did you have a bandana? One of the reasons, yeah, exactly. Knives and weapons in schools can be a problem if they pretend. So that's why you don't want them to build a knife necessarily, but you can talk about the practicality, that it wasn't for fighting necessarily. It was actually for survival, and that's a good thing to teach kids in a lot of places in schools, because a lot of times students will go and they'll start thinking it's for fighting, but a lot of times the pirates, and in the movies they show that a lot, but actually it was about survival. A reason why pirates wore bandanas, and one of the reasons is because and even the big hats, is because it protected their head as well. Also, one of the things is the bandana protected their face. When you're traveling in the open sea, what are you going to have? You're going to have a lot of sun. And to protect your skin, because they didn't have sunblock really back then, is in order to protect your skin and not to get really dehydrated, because you had to keep in your dehydration, then you had to keep hydration, because what if you ran out of water? So your skin had to be protected. You had to keep yourself so much from the sun. Then you had to have these very practical fashion sets. Now, when they do build a treasure hunt, there's a couple of ways you can do this. There's lots of great scavenger hunt apps. You can do geolocation, like Peggy said here. But they also can use something like thinglink.com, and I found this on thinglink.com. Thinglink.com allows you to put up your treasure map, but then they can add little dots, and when they add a little dot to it, they can add the clues of where, or even directions here. So you can do this around the school, but they can make their own treasure map. But with ThingLink, they can add the clues, and it's very, very cool. You can make a very interactive treasure map this way. Now, for this particular one, what they did is they actually made their own QR code treasure hunt. Now, if you go to thinglink.com, you can do a free account. Your students can collaborate on ThingLink maps, and ThingLink is free. It's one of those. It's also an iOS app, and it's also an Android app. So ThingLink is one of my must tools for all teachers. It's like one of those free, great tools you can use. So I really like ThingLink. What did pirates wear and why? So we already talked about the practicality of what they wore and why it's so important. And then we also talk about eye patches and wooden legs and why they had to go through that as well. So these are things that you could talk about with pirates. Now, some of the things you can do as well is when this little pirate's trying to kiss me here. I guess he's not an evil pirate. Come on, little pirate. And so one of the things is you can have them generate these questions ahead of time. So one of the things is when you're working with little kids, because the great thing about pirates is you want to teach them what is real and what is made up in folklore. So what you can do is you can have them draw a picture of a pirate first, and then this is a pre-brainstorming session. And then you can say, put on, dress your pirate, you know, what were the things that you think a pirate wore? They might put big gold chains and all this stuff. And then they do the research and then they find, is this really, did they really wear a lot of jewelry? And then they're going to find, did they really have, how many actually had peg legs? How many actually had eye patches? How many actually had a hook as a hand? And then you can see the reasons why. Now, they're going to find that some things like wearing lots of jewelry and things like that is not part of pirates. Why? Because you don't want to call attention to yourself necessarily if you're a pirate. Why? Because you are hiding from the law. So there are a lot of things that they're going to find that were historically speaking true and some that just weren't. Of course, the most fun about this is if you have the Talk Like a Pirate. Now, you can go to talklikeapirate.com. I'm adding it as a resource, but it's an iffy resource, and here's why. Because some of the beginning stuff, they do have great things for teachers. They even have the sing-along that's made especially for kids, why I want to be a pirate, and they do a YouTube video. There's also some questionable material on there, which is why I didn't, so when you look at this, it's a great place for a resource, but do not send your kids necessarily to the front page or anything like that. But what they can do is you can have them do an English to pirate translator, and I've done a whole bunch of them as well. You can also print out their useful list of pirate words and phrases, and then your students can go and use this. I use this a lot because one of the things I do, and I've done for the last 3 or 4 years, is on International Pirate Day, I send tweets like that. Now, Facebook, if you do have a Facebook group or a Facebook page, Facebook actually has its own, it'll change all of your pirates. It'll change it into all pirate. So there's a Facebook setting, and you can go and you can change it to Talk Like a Pirate, or everything will be put into pirate. So it's a really cool feature. You should look for that in your... But why would we do this? Well, for English language learners, it's really great because, and by the way, they also do this in Dutch and they also do this in German. So you might have not known that, but they have one. If you go to the talklikeapirate.com, you can choose Dutch or German to change into pirate speak as well. So it's very international. It's not just for English. But one of the things about it is, for English language learners, it's important when you do translation. That means that you can see the different grammar structures, and it's great for learning those type of English language skills as well. So it's a great thing to do to be able to translate. You can have a pirate hangout. So this is something that I've done in the past. You can see me here. And you can see my very good friend, Marissa Constantinides. Because Google has where you can put in a pirate hat. You can even have a pirate eye. So one of the things, if you're doing an international project, let's say that you're working with a school from a different place and you talk about your pirate history versus their pirate history, and then you also try and you do the talking like a pirate while you're talking, then you can add the gear as well. And it's a virtual one. So they don't have to really dress like a pirate. Google will dress you like a pirate for you. So it's kind of fun that way. Yeah, I've been teaching Peggy since 1994. So, and in many different places. So I hope you enjoyed these wonderful ideas for teaching like a pirate. You can go out there and have a lot of fun, and your students can learn about science, technology, engineering, math, language, how to translate, and they will love it because students love pirates. So let me go get this buddies. What happened to your hat, buddy? What happened to you? Oh, there's your pirate hat. Let's get him his pirate hat. You can see Roscoe and I dressed as pirates. Here we go. And we're going to say, ahoy, mateys. Go have a great International Pirate Day. You'll find the resources ShellyTurtle.com webinars. So I will add those later today as along with the slides. And then also let us know. So thank you so much. And we will see you next week when we talk about survival tips for teaching with Chromebooks. Or you can find a lot of great stuff about just teaching in general with technology. So hope you enjoy. I'm going to go ahead and